Shanti. The chapter Law of Causation. To summarize it, it's based on the principle of cause and effect. Every situation, all experiences, every situation, every person, every environment, everything that one meets in life is seen in under the understanding of the law of karma. The situation that you meet, the person that you meet, the environment that you are in, all are a process of, all has to be seen in the light of this law. That's why it is called the supreme law. It's a supreme law because everything that you meet in life, from birth till death, that's why the birth is spoken about in this chapter, that death is spoken about, and what happens after death, and then the next reincarnation, etc. Everything is spoken about in this chapter because all that you meet in life falls under this law, and it's known as the supreme law. The law based on cause and effect. Now, what is this cause and effect? The cause is the action, the effect is the consequences of the action. The supreme law, law of cause and effect, it means we need to know what is the cause and what is the effect. First is to understand that everything in life is cause and effect. That itself is a very big understanding. To say everything is cause and effect. And then having accepted everything in life, meaning, that's why I said your birth, your environment, the people that you meet in, the death, the reincarnation, the next janma, every aspect of life comes under this supreme law. Having accepted this is the law that governs life, then the question is, what is the cause and what is the effect? Action is the cause, the consequences of the action is the effect. This is called the law of karma, the supreme law, the law of cause and effect. So two things we are seeing. One is what is the cause and what is the effect. Your action is the cause, consequences are the effect. Okay. Then what factors determine the effect apart from action? Is there any other factor that is playing a part in determining the effect, for which the law says there is no other factor that is determining the consequences, the effect, apart from your action. That's where we spoke about the corollaries of the law of karma, isn't it? There are 5 points. I'm just summarizing it, it becomes easy. The first point is what? All the pleasurable and painful experiences that one goes through in life. Can be a pleasurable experience or it can be a painful experience. Whatever the experiences that you go through is because the human being is divided into two. We saw that already. karta and bhokta, the doer and experiencing the consequences of. So a human being is a combination of two, doer and experiencer, experiencing the consequences of one's own doing. So a human being being this combination of doer and experiencer, who determines what you should experience from the angle of the bhokta, from the angle of the experiencer. Now we are discussing it from the angle of the experiencer. And what does the experiencer experience? Only two things, pleasant and unpleasant. He may experience, the individual may experience infinite variety of experiences, but in and through all the experiences, the common denominator is what? Pleasant or unpleasant, pleasurable or painful experiences. That's what we undergo. So all experiences fundamentally boils down to these two, pleasurable, unpleasurable, pleasant, unpleasant. So the experiencer is experiencing this. The question that the experiencer is asking is, what did I do to experience this, is the question. Correct? What did I do to experience this is the question. And for which the experiencer should not give the answer. Experiencer can only ask the question, what did I do? What did I do that I am experiencing this? If you ask the experiencer, what did you do? The experiencer will say. You ask the experiencer, what will the experiencer say? The experiencer will say, I didn't do anything, I don't deserve this. Correct? The experiencer experiences pleasant and unpleasant, pleasurable, unpleasurable situations, environment, people, etc. And you ask the person, and you ask the experiencer. The experiencer says, I didn't do anything to. The question should not be asked to the experiencer. The question should be addressed to the. Whom the question should be addressed to now? Who should answer this question? The doer or the experiencer? The doer. So Vedanta shifts the discussion from the experiencer to the doer. Why? Because the experiencer is simply a product of the doer, and the experiencer has no choice. He has to experience. So first thing is what? The experiences goes through pleasurable pleasure and pleasurable experiences and painful experiences is what the experiencer go through. In Sanskrit, we call that aspect of the individual as bhokta. The law of karma tells the bhokta, the experiencer, what? That is the first law. What does the law tell the experiencer? In the past, you were the doer. In the past, you being the doer is experiencing the consequences of doing. That is the first law. It means what? Bhokta is the reaper of the results of the doer. Does that mean the experiencer is different from the doer? No. The doer oneself becomes the experiencer to experience the consequences of the doing. Therefore, doer is not different from the experiencer. It is the doer who has now taken the position of the experiencer to experience the consequences of one's own doing. This is the primary law. Theoretically, if you accept this law, what happens? Again, I'm asking only theoretically. Yeah? Practically, very difficult to accept this law. theoretically accepting this as a law, what happens? You cannot blame anybody anymore after this. You cannot blame anybody. You cannot blame anyone. You cannot fight with anyone. You cannot have hatred towards anyone for any of this that is happening, because you have understood that you are the cause. You are the cause and you are the effect. The first law. You are the cause and you are the effect. When you are the cause, you don't know what is happening. And when you are the effect, the pain wakes you up to ask what happened. This is the first law. We have seen all this. We are hopefully in this session, I'm trying to summarize the entire chapter into 4 or 5 points. So we understand what this law of karma means. Because when we are going to revisit this chapter again, I don't know. So we will go through this points once. Having accepted this, extending the same logic, the second aspect of the law, the second part of the law comes in. What is the second part of the law? If the past you is responsible for the present you, the present you is responsible for the future you. This is where the statement comes. This is where the law comes. Make yourself or mar yourself. You are the architect of your fortune. You are the architect of your misfortune. Ramatirtha says all this. He says you are the architect of your fortune. You are the architect of your misfortune. You make yourself or you mar yourself. Based on what law it is? So this statement is made out of a law. What is the law? Extending the first law. Extending the point from the, it is extension of the first point. What is the first point said? You are the doer and you are the experiencer. Extend the same logic. What happens? If the past you is responsible for the present you, by the same logic, extending the same logic, it is naturally you can conclude that the present you is responsible for the future you. It asks, how would you like your future to be? Everybody wants heaven only, no? Future means better, betterment, better life. Future means what? Better life. And that quite in the language of Vedanta, it's called heaven. It's called heaven. Heaven. Nowadays we don't use this word heaven and hell and all this, because heaven means, since it has become a very different narrow meaning, it is not used. But I'm trying to bring it in the concept. So what your future should be? Something different you want, correct? Your future is always something different from your present. Maybe in some angle, isn't it? Maybe if not economically, maybe physically. If not economically and physically, maybe emotionally. If not something physically, economically, emotionally, maybe something intellectually. If not all this, you will say, at least I want to moksha. Correct? At least you will say, I want to moksha. It means what? There is a future you. You have a vision of the future you. Whose responsibility is that future you? The law of karma says, whose responsibility it is? The present you. The present you. Now comes the third law. Now comes not the third law, the third aspect of it. What is the third law? Very important is the third aspect of the law. Never make the wrong connection between the current karta and the current bhokta. That requires some clarity. Again, I repeat. I'm putting it in one sentence and then I'll elaborate it. Never make the connection between don't make the current karta responsible for the current bhokta. Are you able to understand? If you make the current karta responsible for the current bhokta, then that's where everybody makes the mistake. What did I do now? What did I do now? You are not doing anything. What you are experiencing is not because of what you are doing now. What you are experiencing is because of what you did. But then the mind in a hurry, the mind in its anxiety, the mind in a hurry wanting to get out, it always places, it wants to blame it tries to place the entire responsibility on the current. So from this, what is the third point that you have to understand? Never make the fallacy. What is the fallacy in thinking? The current karta is not responsible for the current bhokta. The current karta is not responsible for the current bhokta. So by the first point, you stop blaming the world, correct? You start blaming the world, you stop blaming the environment. By the third point, you will start blaming yourself also. Otherwise, if you don't blame the world, you will end up blaming yourself, no? You will keep hitting your head. Oh, why did I do that? Why did I do that? Isn't it? Why did I do that? Why did I do that? So the third law, sorry, not the third law, the third aspect of the law frees you from your own self-whipping. At the first aspect of the law, you became free from the world. This is how law of karma gives you freedom. If you want moksha, you must understand law of karma. So first freedom that law of karma gives you is freedom from the world. Second freedom that law of karma gives you is freedom from your own past. Freedom from your own past. Freedom from your own past means what? Not escaping the consequences of the past, not that freedom. By going through it, by experiencing it, you are exhausting it and you are becoming free. Make sure that you don't perpetuate the cycle. That responsibility is of the current karta. So it means what? The third point you understand. What is the third point? Never make the mistake of connecting the present karta and the present bhokta. If you make the present karta responsible for the present bhokta, you will be always whipping yourself. Why? Because you are making the wrong person responsible. Once you understand this, what happens? You will not whip yourself and take the entire responsibility upon yourself. And when you take the responsibility out of knowledge and understanding, you become free. In chapter 17, verses 17 and 18 of chapter 4, he says, Gahana karmano gatihi. The nature of karma is very deep, he says. In chapter, we finished reading, if we finish studying that portion. We finish studying that portion, we will revisit again, isn't it? Finished na, now that we have understood, we will go on revisiting. There he says, Gahana karmano gatihi. The nature of karma is deep, impenetrable, very difficult to understand. Why? It is difficult to understand if you do not know how to segregate the karta and the bhokta. Law of karma, by segregating the karta and bhokta, gives you this freedom. So law of karma makes you free from the environment. Law of karma makes you free from your own past. And how does it make you free from your own past? Not by escaping the consequences. That you write it in bold letters. Not by escaping the consequences, but by exhausting it. That's why they say exhaust your karmas, exhaust the consequences. As you are exhausting, what you shouldn't do? Be alert and aware not to create another cycle. Be alert and aware not that the responsibility of alertness is to the present karta. So, what mistake you should not make? I tell you, everybody who comes crying for a problem, who comes crying, I have a problem, I don't know what the solution is, what should I do, what should I do, what should I do? Universally, this mistake people make. What is the mistake? The mistake of connecting the bhokta to the present karta. That you don't make. That you don't make. How to understand this distinction? For bhokta, technical word for bhokta is prarabdha. The technical word for karta is, what is the other word? Prarabdha, you should tell me the other word. What is the other word? Purushartha. For karta, it means purushartha. For bhokta, it means prarabdha. Why? Because having done it, you have to experience the consequences, correct? You have no choice. You have to experience the only way to exhaust the karma is by experiencing it. What the present karta does, the present karta, by gaining proper knowledge and understanding, doesn't create any addition. Because he is not creating any addition, there is no fuel to the bhokta. Therefore, what happens? Whatever the past experiences are, it starts dying away by itself. Prarabdha dies away by itself. That's what we said when we discussed prarabdha. We said you need not worry about prarabdha at all because it dies away by itself. So, the bhokta is the prarabdha part, the karta is the purushartha part. And when you do this purushartha, you create karmas. When you employ your purushartha, you create karma. And that karma is of three types. What are the three types of karma? Sanchita, agami, and prarabdha. And what is sanchita karma? What is the example we gave for the three karmas? The example that we gave for the three karmas is the archer. Remember that example, arrows. Prarabdha karma is the arrow that is shot. Agami is the arrow that is about to shoot, meaning he still has a choice. Sanchita means the arrows in the bag. What knowledge does? Here comes the role of knowledge. What knowledge does? It can handle the sanchita and the agami karma because both are yet to fructify. Prarabdha, you cannot do anything. Why? Because the arrow is already The arrow is already shot. It will necessarily reach the destination and stop. It will die by itself. So, by doing the proper karma, by doing the proper right action in the present, the karta, the present you, the present karta can do two things. What are the two things it can do? In relation to the past, the present karta can do three things. What are the three things the present karta can do? Exactly like diseases. Some disease you take medication for a few days, it's over. For some diseases get cured. Some diseases are cured. And then there are some diseases that are, what is the second word for that? Managed. Blood pressure is managed. Blood sugar is managed. No. So some diseases are cured. Some diseases are managed. One or two. So there is a cure. There is a management. And then there is the third part. What is the third part? Where you just cannot do anything. And that is very rare. That's very, very rare. Most of the time, the current karta can by doing the right action in the present, the current karta can manage the bhokta in two ways. What are the two ways he can manage? Either he can bring a cure or he can manage. In fact, the very fact that you can manage itself is a great relief, isn't it? And there are a few that you cannot do anything about it. And that few that you cannot do anything about, you need not worry at all. Why? Because anyway it will end by itself. Therefore, the fourth point is what? This is the fourth point. What is the fourth point? The present karta in relation to the present bhokta also he can do something. The present karta in relation to the present bhokta can either cure or manage. In some rare things that you have done in the past, which you cannot do anything, you have to necessarily experience it, and that which you have to experience it, you need not bother. Why? Because it will die away by itself. This is the fourth point. By extending the same law, what happens? Because of the Sanchita and the Agami, the last part, the reincarnation happens. Because something is left to know. Something is left. Some prarabdha, this embodiment has to get. You have to leave this embodiment, you leave this embodiment. But what happens to the arrow in the bags? That will take you to the next embodiment. So the same law explains reincarnation also. So the reincarnation happens because of the Sanchita. So what is the starting point? What is the starting point of the effect? What is the starting point of the effect? The cause. Cause and effect. Yeah. Effect nale, what is the starting point of the effect? The cause. And what is the cause? Action is the cause. Action is the cause. Consequences of the action is the effect. That is why when you define karma, karma means action. Karma means consequences of action. That's why the Sanskrit word, the supreme law, it's simply called the law of karma. Karma means action, and karma means consequences of the action. From another angle, effect is karma. From another angle, you can say it like that also. Karma is a process of compensation of action. For whatever actions you have done, you have to be compensated, isn't it? Nothing goes for nothing, nothing disappears, nothing vanishes. There is a compensation, and karma is the compensation. You can call it in that way. It means, what are the three avenues by which you perform karma? The three instruments of karma, the three types of karma, what are the three types of karma? Selfish, unselfish, selfless. What are the three instruments by which you do karma? Thought, word, and deed. Manasam karma, we have seen all that. I'm just putting everything I'm just putting everything in one session. So the types of action is selfish, unselfish, selfless. The instrument of action is three. What are the three? Thought, word, and deed. Bhokta is a complex entity experiencing the consequences of what now? Experiencing the consequences of the attitude done through the instruments. The attitude of the action done through the instruments. So when you see Bhokta, it's too difficult to comprehend Bhokta. Why? Gahana karmano gatihi. The Bhokta, the experiencer, is a very complex entity. That complex entity is what in the book is explained by the resultant force. We studied the resultant force last class, isn't it? So the resultant force is the Bhokta. And what all goes into the resultant is what I'm explaining. What all goes into the resultant? Each and every thought, each and every word, and each and every action done by karmendriyas. So there are three types of the three instruments of action. What are the three instruments of action? The thought, the word, the deed. It's not just the thought, word, and deed. What attitude goes into? What attitude went into each and every thought? What attitude went into each and every word? What attitude went into each and every action? Such a complex network. The child asks, who's maintaining these accounts so perfectly? Yeah. Who's that data person who keeps everything so? Who is the maintainer of all these records and make sure that it never fails? Yeah. Or we call it as Chitragupta, isn't it? We call him as Chitragupta. Yama has an assistant. Lord Yama has an assistant. His name is Chitragupta. Yamaya Dharmarajaya. Yama means Dharmaraja because that's why it's called the supreme law. Morning, noon, and night, we pray to Yama and we pray to Chitragupta also. Subramaniam, correct? Correct, no? You are praying, no? Yamaya Namaha, Yamaya Dharmarajaya Mrityave cha Antakaya cha Vaivasvataya Kala Sarvabhudakshayaya cha Audumbaraya Tatnaya Nilaya Parameshtine Vrgodharaya Chitraya Chitraguptaya Vai Namaha. So we prostrate. And then just to make sure that we are aware of him, we say again. Chitraguptaya Vai Namaha. Again we say Chitraguptaya Vai Namaha. Double, just to make sure that we don't miss him. Why? Because that man maintains this complexity of data. And what is the complexity of data? He is the one who is aware of the attitude of each and every thought, the attitude of each and every word, the attitude of each and every action. All put together, Ramatirtha, what Swamiji quotes in this book, Vedanta Treatise, is the law of what we spoke about, the resultant. So what is resultant now? Dahana karmano gatihi. That is why you can never know the resultant. Or if you want to know the resultant, you have to ask Chitragupta only. And where to go and find Chitragupta now? Vedanta says, don't worry about Chitragupta and all. You can do it by yourself now. By understanding the Bhokta part of you, Chitragupta tells you what you have done in the past. So you need not go and ask Chitragupta and all. All that you have to do is what? Analyze the current Bhokta. That's how we conclude law of karma. So if you want to know what you have done, you don't have to go and ask Chitragupta. You need not go and ask Yama and all. You simply analyze the Bhokta part of you. When you analyze the Bhokta part of you, what is it? The Bhokta has only two fundamental states of mind. What is the two fundamental states of mind of the Bhokta? The technical language is Papa and Punya. The technical language is Papa and Punya. The English translation of it is, wherever possible, I'm introducing some 20-30 Sanskrit words. Remember those 20-30 Sanskrit. You don't have to become Sanskrit scholars. 20-30 Sanskrit words you should remember, because every science has its own technical terms. If you have to understand that science, you have to know those technical terms. You can't replace those technical terms. Are you able to follow? Like for example, if you have to study accounting, you have to use that terms only, credit and debit and credit use pannu. You can't say I will change the word. You can use any synonyms, but then you have to, when only those two terms are necessary. Similarly, every science has its own technical terms. Vedanta, being a science, has its own technical terms. And very difficult to put it in a book form. So he didn't put it in the book. In the classroom where we are not bound by time. People ask me, how long it will take to finish a text, sir? I say, I don't know. How long will you take to complete Bhagavad Gita? 15 years. How long it will take to finish Bhajagovinda? 1.5 years. 31 verses will take 1.5 years. Correct. Because I also take breaks in between. No, I also take holidays in between. So where there is no, where we are not in a time-bound method, where we are not bound by time to finish a text, I go into detailed elaboration. When I'm elaborating, you need to necessarily know certain technical terms. So what is the technical term as far as the Bhokta is concerned? The two mental states of the Bhokta is called Papa and Punyam. Punya means pleasant, Papa means agitations. In the modern day language, you can call it as stress, anxiety, depression. All this is the mental state of the Bhokta part of you. So wherever you want to know your status, all that you got to do is understand the Bhokta part of you. When you understand the Bhokta part of you, you know exactly. By understanding the Bhokta part, you can correlate with you can infer the Karta. That's why it's called inference. Law of karma is an inferential law. Are you able to follow? Venkatachalam. By understanding the current Bhokta, you can connect it to the past Karta. And it is purely an inference. It is purely an So, what is karma? Karma is a process of compensation of action. That's all it is. The karta is the doer, bhokta, the karta changes into the bhokta to experience. It's not, bhokta is not different from karta. That's why obvious example is given. You eat chili, why will I get stomach ache? If you eat chili and I get stomach ache, karta and bhoktas are different, correct? If I eat chili, I get a stomach ache. It means the karta appears as bhokta. So bhokta is not different from karta. So if you want to understand the karta part of you, you have to analyze what? Not the karta. Simply look at the bhokta part. And when you look at the bhokta part, the bhokta has the mental states of bhokta. What are the two fundamental states of bhokta? Papa and punya. The third state we are not discussing. To come to the third state, we need to go to the, not the next chapter. The next chapter is theory of perception. Theory of perception and theory of knowledge. When we go there, we'll discuss that. To go to the third state, we have to go to the Maya, etc., illusions, etc. Transcending the mind itself is because of, for the bhokta to disappear completely, for the bhokta to leave this papa punya behind, the karta has to understand Maya. Right now, what we are discussing, we are not discussing, we have not come to the Maya part. We are still discussing at the bhokta mental state where it is one of two. What are the two? Papa and punya. Punya means pleasant mental state. Papa means agitated mental state. And most of the time, the human being is a mixture of both. In the unpleasant situations, there will be a pleasant situation. Upanishads gives a very beautiful example. In everything around you is unpleasant, and there will be in the mixture of unpleasantness, there will be a pleasantness. Beautiful example the Shastras give. The Upanishads gives that example. The man is hanging precariously at the edge of the branch. Below is the pond. Below is the pond. In that pond, there is a crocodile waiting. In that pond, there is a crocodile with the mouth open. Direct landing in the crocodile, mouth open, it's waiting. Why can't he simply come down? He can't come down because there is a group of dogs waiting there. There is a group of wild dogs waiting. If he comes down, the wild dogs will tear him into pieces. Neither he can come down, he can do. Why can't he stay in the branch also? A snake is crawling on the branch. Cobra. Look at the unpleasantness. Either now he has a choice. What? The wild dogs or the crocodile or the cobra. At that point of time, above the tree, there is the beehive. And drops of honey is dripping from that. And he sticks the tongue out. Will he not taste the sweetness of the honey? The Upanishads asks. What answer is good? Will he not taste the sweetness of the honey? Yes or no? That is Mishra. That momentary pleasantness, even though he knows that there is a crocodile, even though he knows that, but still the honey gives him a happiness. So what is the bhokta experiencing? Bhokta is always experiencing a mixture. Why he is experiencing a mixture? If the bhokta is experiencing the mixture, The karta is done mixed actions, correct? Because it is the karta that has become the bhokta, no? Only papa, it's very clear. Only punya, again very clear. But that is, that's where for understanding purposes, we take two extremes as papa and punya, hell and heaven. And what is hell? Ramakrishna, I cannot forget Ramakrishna Paramahamsa for hell. At least I got really scared. I'm very scared of it even now. People are not scared, but he gives what is Naraka. He said, it is, have you heard the story, Narayanji? He defines sipping tea in Naraka. Ramakrishna Paramahamsa gives this example. Sipping tea in Naraka. I tell you, I was struggling to figure out what is sipping tea in Naraka. What is that? Because Naraka means hell. Sipping tea in Naraka is what is the hell in that? What is the Naraka in that? So many people I asked. So many books I read. So many people I asked. I gave it up. And then by chance, I heard it from one of the great speakers talking in one of the lectures. I heard it. He explained what is that. From where he got the source, I don't know. But he explains it. What is it? One person has done all the possible bad thought, word, and deed. He has done all possible. And he has to sentence to Naraka. Yama said, see, you are, because of your past, you have to be in Naraka for a period of time. That's your prarabdha. You have to be in Naraka for a period of time and you can't do no prayasita, no escapism, no nothing. You will be here. In all these things, you did one good action also. For that good action of yours, I will take you a tour of Naraka. I will show you what are all the possible types of tortures you will go through. You choose whatever you want to. What kind of because you can't say I don't want it. That choice you don't have. But only thing is, so that's where you find all the descriptions of Naraka. Deep fried, isn't it? Like a bhaji, you know. It will be, neck below you will be like the bhaji, you will be like, you know. The whole thing will get 1 more minute, you will die. See, you die here and you go to Naraka. In Naraka, you can't die, no? You can't die there. So what will happen? 1 more second in that burning oil where you are being made into a bhaji, you will be taken out. And the divine physician will come. Divine physician will come. He will apply some balms. Instantly, you will get cured. So that the next round of bhaji will start. Not that you are cured and you are sent out. Another Naraka. You will be poked and poked and poked. You will be whipped and whipped and whipped. All that pains. And he went through this entire Naraka tour. Then he was about to say, my God, what have I done to myself now? But that knowledge is, at that point, he has to necessarily experience it, no? So there was one dark corner now. That's where the climax of the story, the dark corner. This man asked, what is that part? He said, no, don't worry about that. That's all right. Don't worry about that. It's meant for special category, not for you. Special people only go there. He said, no, I want to see that. If Yama is saying don't go there, what that fellow should have done? At least there he should have listened to, no? Don't listen. Even in Narakaloka, you can't listen to Yama, what to do. So he went there. He went. There was a pit and about 5 of them standing in the pit and sipping tea. He said, This is such a fantastic place to be in. Because better to be bajimari port rather than being poked all the time, rather being cut into pieces all the time and rejoined only to be cut again to be rejoined. This sipping tea is okay. Emma said, look into the pit. Emma said, look into the pit. He saw in the pit. He saw in the pit. And what he saw in the pit, he couldn't manage. Up to knee high, something is filled in the pit. Up to knee high, what is it? Anybody remembers the story? Who remembers that? Anshu, you have not heard this, huh? Oh my God. Oh, then you all didn't hear so many of my stories then. Oh, then I should remember. Then I sure class not stories no I'll remember. She has not heard all this. How can she something? Narendra, you also have not heard all this, huh? Oh, then the next 1 year will then next 1 year classes will be very interesting. Every one class I'll give one story. This man thought, what a fantastic place to be in now, sipping tea. Yama said, look into the pit. Something, like a slush. No, he said, that's still all right. No, what is wrong in that? You are only standing there. Yama said, look into it deeper. Full of pus. That pit is full of pus. Every day replaced by fresh stock. From where Yama gets, I don't know, but he gets replaced. This man said, still it is all right. Why? Because it is only knee height. Still it is all right. Yama said, I'm giving you a last chance. Don't take it. Choose something else. He said, no. You are very cruel. I will take this. Having taken this, you have no choice. He said, okay, I'll take this. Yama said, 1000 years later, I will see you. Because punishment is 1000 years. Later, I will see you. And he jumped into the pit. As soon as he jumped into the pit, the ringmaster came. The ringmaster came, blowing the whistle. All of you stand upside down. For 3 hours of standing upside down, you will get a 2-minute tea break. This fellow saw the 2-minute tea break he saw. And he thought that is, are you able to follow? Bhokta, Naraka, I remember only that. So from now on, what you should, Naraka means what you should remember. Teju. Ramakrishna Paramahamsa, remember. At least I remember that. Huh? I don't even want to go anywhere near that. So each and every thought you be careful, each and every word you be careful, each and every action you be careful. Facebook post Twitter free account don't put. Yeah. Don't put the post in Twitter because they give that free. Don't put things because it is just simply don't say things because Ramakrishna Paramahamsa says it is. When I read this book long back, it is there. It is like sipping tea in Naraka. That is hell, Bhokta. Another extreme of Bhokta is Swarga, heaven. And what is Swarga? Swarga is defined as the place where you don't sweat. Where you don't sweat means you don't have to do anything. Sweat implies effort, implies action. In Swarga, you will not sweat, means you will not do any action. Everything will come to you. And you will not get bored also. Huh? Don't think you will get bored in half a day. You will not get bored. For that period of time, you will be. If you want to drink, you do not go for bottles and all. The river will flow there. Yeah. The river of wine. I don't know what that river is. That's how the Puranas describe heaven. In Kathopanishad, Yama tells Nachiketas, I will give you that Swarga, I will give you that heaven also, Nachiketas. He asks, he tells. He tempts Nachiketas in Kathopanishad. He says, I will give you this also, take it. But that boy had the thing to say. That boy had that courage to say no. He had that knowledge, and courage means courage come from knowledge and understanding only. You will not have it is knowledge that gives courage. That's why they say knowledge is power, no? Through knowledge and understanding only you get the courage. And he had the courage to say no. More the current karta keeps on saying no, 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 the bhokta simply exhaust the past and not affected that much. Will not be affected. That's how the knowledge gives you freedom from law of karma. Otherwise, the last question is, am I caught in that perpetual cycle of karma then? Action will produce an effect, and that effect becomes another cause, and that cause becomes an effect. Then it means you are caught in that vicious loop. How to get out of the loop? Again, karta can do something to get out of the loop. And what that karta has to do to get out of the loop? He has to be aware of the attitude and the instruments of action. How to make use of the proper attitude while using the instruments of action. Are you able to connect now? What are the three instruments of action? Manasam karma, vachikam karma, kayakam karma. If you can't remember the Sanskrit words, doesn't matter. You can call it as thought, word, and deed. Thought, word, and deed. Each and every thought of yours, what attitude drives that thought of yours? What attitude drives the word of yours? What attitude drives the action of yours? Because the bhokta is the resultant of this. We said resultant. Now, what determines the resultant? The attitude with which you use the instrument of action. Therefore, law of karma is unconcerned about your skill. Law of karma is not concerned at all about your skill. Whether you are a doctor or engineer, law of karma is not worried about your profession. Whether you are a teacher of philosophy or you are a butcher. Are you able to connect now? The law of karma isn't worried about your profession. Law of karma isn't worried about your profession or a skill. It is entirely dependent on what now? It is entirely dependent on how you use the instrument of action, with what attitude you use your instruments of action. This is the effect of understanding the chapter law of karma. If you understand the chapter law of karma, what would be the conclusion? It has got nothing to do with the skill. It has got nothing to do with the profession. It has got nothing to do with what I do. It's not what you do, he says, but how you do it. How is decided by what? How you do it means skillfully. Yeah? How to do it means professionally, skillfully. Law of karma says, I really don't care about your profession. I really don't bother about your skill, because that is all swabhava. That's part of your past. It keeps changing. It keeps moving. Now that doesn't determine your karma. Then what determines your karma? The three instruments of action. You have the three instruments of action, and you have these three attitudes. With what attitude you employ the instrument of action determines your resultant. From this, you understand you have a choice over your life now. Your life is fully under your control now. Your life is fully under your control. Everything can be done by you. What is the conclusion? This is the conclusion. Having learnt up to this, Vedanta takes the discussion to the next level of the third attitude of do actions selflessly. To do actions selflessly, a deeper understanding is required. Ganesh, for you to do action selflessly, a deeper understanding is required. What deeper understanding is required to become selfless in nature? To develop the selfless attitude, you have to understand Maya. You have to understand Mithya. You have to understand Maya. You have to understand Mithya. If you don't understand Mithya, selflessness cannot. Now, when we go to illusion, I will connect to that. And then we start with another important chapter, theory of perception. Next class. Again, I'll do some introduction to what this theory, what is perception means, what is the word perception means, and then we'll elaborate that. But for today, we conclude the law of karma. And what is law of karma? You don't remember anything. At least remember one thing. At least try to remember the story. What is that story? நரக்கால டீ குடிக்கிறது ஞாபகம் வச்சுக்கப்பா விஜய். Simply remember that. Sipping tea in Naraka. That's all. Down the line, you can recollect. Down the line, you can recollect. Oh, yeah, you can recollect the Karta. You can recollect to Bhokta. You can understand the law of karma and all the corollaries of law of karma. Sanchita, Prarabdha, Agami, Prarabdha, Purushartha. Everything can be. All comes to you in a flash. With this, we conclude the chapter, law of causation, the supreme law. Why it is known as the supreme law? It is a supreme law because there is no exception to it. Supreme means there is no way you can ask for exemption. No way you can ask for exemption. Can't we do prayaschitta and all, sir? Can't we do prayaschitta karma and escape all this? Vedanta says, by doing prayaschitta karma, you are only taking a vow not to repeat it again. Are you able to follow, Shankar? Prayaschitta karma ennan puriyirudha? Are you able to follow what is prayaschitta karma? Because the whole world says prayaschitta karma. The whole world believes in prayaschitta karma. Prayaschitta karma means they believe that your entire past can be wiped off. It cannot be wiped off like that by prayaschitta. It can be wiped off by knowledge and understanding. What is the knowledge and understanding? With what attitude you make use of the tools that you have. You have 3 tools and you have no choice but to escape the 3 tools. With what attitude you are using the three tools, the 3 instruments. And what is prayaschitta? Then what is prayaschitta karma? Does Vedanta say don't do prayaschitta karma? Vedanta says please do it. But what that prayaschitta karma is supposed to teach you? Prayaschitta karma teaches you that you should not do it again. It's not that you do a prayaschitta karma, come back and restart all over again. And to do prayaschitta karma also you need a lot of shraddha. That's why in these classes we don't talk about prayaschitta karma a lot, because to do prayaschitta karma you need a lot of shraddha. And what is Shraddha means? You dip in the Ganges, you are freed of the sins. Now that you are a pure person, so when you step back on the banks after the Ganges, who are you now? No more the past person. You are a pure person now. It means you will not do. It means what? You will not do anything of what you did in the past. Correct? That's practical. Now what people do, they think that, but all my sins are wiped out. Now I can restart again. What that bhakta will go through? Naraka only. What that bhakta will go through? Naraka. Either bhakta will go through Naraka or Mishra. Mishra means mixed. Yeah. So law of karma, the two example you can remember. With this I conclude. What are the two examples to remember law of karma this chapter? Mishra or Naraka. Mishra means, what is the example for Mishra? Upanishadic example. What is the Upanishadic example for Mishra? Honey. The question of Upanishad, beautiful question. Huh? Such a wonderful question the Upanishad asks. Will the honey taste sweet or not? Will it taste sweet or not at that in that moment of crisis? Will it taste sweet or it will taste bitter? How it will taste? Sweet only. That is called Mishra. So as a bhokta, are you experiencing Mishram or are you experiencing Naraka or Swarga? And it is in your hands. To summarize as a formula, because I keep it as a formula, because once you know it as a formula, you can elaborate. All these are stories, elaboration there. But then you should know, you should have it in a sutra form. Sutra means formula forms. And what is the formula? Jiva, individual, equals effect plus effort. Jiva equals effect plus effort. That effort part, what is the technical word for that? For the effort part, Purushartha. For the effort, Purushartha. For the effect, Prarabdha. So human being equals Prarabdha plus Purushartha. Karta plus Bhokta. Use it as a formula, and on this formula you elaborate. When you do reflection, you should elaborate it. Wherever you are stuck, you can use the classes, you can use all the reference material. So use it as the formula and then elaborate the formula. What is law of karma says? Jiva equals karta plus bhokta. Jiva equals prarabdha plus purushartha. All are Sanskrit terms, technical terms. If you find it difficult, replace it with English words. Even though I would suggest by heart this 30 words. It's not difficult. If you can't, it's still okay. In English also you can say the same thing. What is it? Individual equals effect plus effort. You can cry about the effect or you can focus on the effort. This is law of karma, the supreme law. With this, we conclude this chapter, and next session we move on with another beautiful topic, the theory of. Do you have anything?
No, sir. No.
Yeah, we summarized it. I thought we'll just be discussing it for quite 8-10 sessions. I don't know how many sessions I don't keep count like that. I don't know how many sessions we took this law of karma.
9 sessions.
9 sessions. Huh? Oh, 9. Huh? Oh my God.
This is the 9th session.
So I thought we'll just summarize it and we'll move on to the next chapter. Theory of perception.